Dear all, critical Apache Tomcat vulnerability already being exploited. The root cause of CVE 202524.813 lies in how Apache Tomcat handles file paths during partial put requests. When a user uploads a file this way, Tomcat creates a temporary file using the provided file name and path. Critically, it replaces path separators, like, or, with dots. For instance, an attempt to upload a file to uploads.malicious.file.txt might result in a temporary file named uploads.malicious.file.txt. While this approach was originally intended as a security measure against path traversal, it inadvertently opened a new vulnerability. By carefully crafting file names with internal dots, attackers can potentially bypass security controls, gaining unauthorized access to modify or disclose files in unintended locations within the server. First published on March 10, 2025. This CVE has a severity rating of critical, owing to the likelihood of leading to data breaches, content injection, unauthorized access, server compromise, and in certain extreme cases, remote code execution. This can occur when Tomcat's file-based session persistence is used with default settings, and the application includes deserialization vulnerabilities, which would allow attackers to execute arbitrary code on the server. Of significant concern, attackers began exploiting this vulnerability in the wild a mere 30 hours after the public disclosure of the proof of concept (POC). Exploitation of CVE 202524.813 involves two primary steps. Malicious session file upload. An attacker sends a put request to upload a crafted Java session file. The file name and path are manipulated to exploit the path equivalence vulnerability. This allows the attacker to write the session file to a location where it can be accessed. Deserialization trigger. The attacker then sends a GET request referencing the malicious session ID. This triggers the deserialization of the uploaded session file, potentially leading to remote code execution. Key considerations. The vulnerability is relatively straightforward to exploit if the prerequisite conditions are met. Exploitation does not require authentication. The primary requirement is that Tomcat is configured to use file-based session storage instead of the default in-memory storage. Successful remote code execution also depends on the presence of deserialization vulnerabilities within the deployed web applications and if servlet write is enabled. Mitigation strategies. If you suspect your Apache Tomcat deployment may be vulnerable to CVE 202524.813, follow these steps to secure your system. Verify whether your system is affected by checking the version of Apache Tomcat running on your server. Vulnerable versions include Apache Tomcat 9.0.0.m 1 through 9.0.98, Apache Tomcat 10.1.0m 1 through 10.1.34, Apache Tomcat 11.0.0m 1 through 11.0.2. Determining whether your system is running one of these versions is critical too. Understanding your exposure to this vulnerability. Upgrade to a patched version. Immediately update Apache Tomcat to a secure version. Apache Tomcat 9.0.99 or later Apache Tomcat 10.1.35 or later Apache Tomcat 11.0.3 or later. Upgrading to a patched version that addresses the vulnerability is an essential measure to safeguard the system against potential exploitation. If an upgrade cannot be performed right away, take the following steps to reduce risk. Disable partial put requests. Modify the allow partial put setting in conference/web.xml and set it to false. Then restart Tomcat. Disable write permissions for default servlet. Ensure that the read-only attribute is set to true in the default servlet configuration. Restrict sensitive file locations. Avoid placing sensitive files in subdirectories of public upload paths to prevent unauthorized access.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and click the bell icon for future videos.